It was about the second or third week of Lent last year that we were faced suddenly with the first lockdown of the COVID pandemic. And suddenly everything had to change for our celebration of the season of Lent. The churches were closed and we had to rethink how we would manage to celebrate Easter. But this year we know about the lockdown. Our churches are still open, but Lent can't be quite as it would normally be. So let's allow our imagination to take us back to those foundation stones of what Lent is all about: prayer, fasting and almsgiving. So if you look first at prayer, and I have to be very careful when I talk to anybody about prayer, because prayer is such a varied thing and we must find the style that suits us. But I suspect that many of us learnt to pray when we were small children. And we were taught, because we all gathered together in a classroom or with our families, and we learnt standard prayers. And they're the formula prayers that are so important even now. But I wonder if maybe it rather drew us away from that private sense of prayer, that ability just to chat with God, to have a conversation with Him. After all, He says at the end of the Gospels, Jesus says, "I'm with you always until the end of time." And we talk about the Spirit being within us, being closer to us than our own breath. I wonder if that conversation with God, wherever we are, could be a really rich source of prayer, but maybe something that we tend to ignore or neglect. I wonder if we can think of a moment when something really good happens to us, or maybe we're faced with a problem and we don't know what to do, or we've had some sad news. It's very often those times that we want to share that news with a neighbour, a good friend, and we sit with them and we talk with them, we explain how we feel, what the consequences are. I wonder if that friend could be God. I wonder if we could imagine sitting in our living room and having Jesus sit in the chair opposite us, listening to us, all that we want to say, all that we want to unburden ourselves of. That's prayer. And it's so important that we should feel that God is close enough to us to listen to us in those moments and to come to help us in our need. So maybe in this season of Lent, prayer is something that we can be using much more freely in a conversation with God, not forgetting the formula prayers, they are so important. But I would ask that maybe we can consider the freedom that we have in prayer, talking to God as if we were talking to a good and close friend, and learning from the conversations about how we may better live our lives and be Christ to those around us.